Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Manga Studio Comics. Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to update this picture here. So I'm going to take some of the comments that you guys left me in the description below, and I'm going to add those in randomly into the character and also draw elements of the scene that we also talked about in the comments. So yeah, so you guys are helping me to basically create this piece, and we'll see what we come up with. So some of the comments that I like that I'll be adding, like the broken off horn on one side, the arrows in the leg, arrows kind of whizzing by, some fallen characters in the background. You know, I don't know how detailed I can make the overall scene without taking an absorbent amount of time, but you know, we'll see what we can get in here. So one of the things I wanted to show you before I time lapse and narrate over the next part will be the way that I set up for, you know, if I particularly draw a character like this and it starts heading in the right direction, one of the things I'll do to make it easier to draw in the background is I'll isolate the character by either creating a selection around them, or in this case I actually drew a line around the character, and I'll show you that. So when using Manga Studio or Clip Studio Paint, which I don't know when I'm going to start actually referring to it just as Clip Studio Paint. I'm so in love with the name Manga Studio, or Manga Studio if I was to pronounce it properly, I guess, which I never do. So at any rate, you know, I draw a line around the character on another layer. I use that line, I think I deleted it here, but you don't have to, you can keep it in there. I use that line to create a flood fill. So if you notice here, I've got him as a solid flood fill. And the beauty of this is when I create my next layers, as you'll see me do here shortly, and I start to draw, I just draw behind the character and through the character. So say I'm doing the background stuff and I'll just kind of loosely, you know, figure out something like, you know, throwing some rough sketches like that. I can draw behind the character. I can even tone down the opacity of this layer if I want to see what I'm sketching behind them just a little bit to get proportions correct. So I just wanted to add that little tip and advice, and just so you know, if you see me drawing and you don't really necessarily know what's going on there, you'll now understand that. So what I'm going to do here now is take some of these tips and advice and you know, descriptions that you guys gave me, and I'm going to start drawing that in the character. By the way, love the concepts. You guys all had some really great ideas. Sorry if your idea doesn't get used. I can't probably put everything in here that was commented, but I'll try to add as much as I can and move forward on the project here. So, all right, so I'll narrate this next part and time lapse it. So let's get started. Okay, so now for the time lapse, and basically I'm just taking everything that was given to me in the descriptions and trying to drop that in. So, you know, I throw in a quick background. Somebody else made the suggestion of putting characters, fallen soldiers in the back. So figured a couple archers would be kind of good, since somebody else also wanted a arrow to the knee. So, you know, just trying to incorporate all that. And then, you know, making little changes. There's the arrow to the knee, obviously. That's got to hurt. But making little changes to the anatomy as well. Like, I still feel like that leg was a bit weird and the pose is a bit off. But, you know, sometimes you just got to go past something like that. Like, you know, you don't always get it just right, unfortunately, or I don't anyways. So yeah, so I keep refining it here, and then I keep making little changes to, you know, another comment was to show one of the horns broken off, to show more like, you know, combative type stuff. Like he's got scars, he's got nicks and scratches in his armor, which all makes, you know, total sense. I think things like that always add more area of interest to the work and a little bit more of a believable type atmosphere to your piece. You see I keep changing things as I'm, you know, working through my sketch. You know, I talk about that a lot in my my pieces, that I'm never opposed to changing something, because I think that through making those changes, it always just gets you a little bit closer to it being a better piece. So just be really open to changing your ideas on the fly. You know, as long as it doesn't change the initial script or whatever you're working from. So somebody else said, you know, give him a longer beard. If he was more of a Viking warrior, he'd have a longer beard. So I try to add a little bit more beard, throw in the little braid to the bottom, or, you know, whatever he did to his beard there. Somebody else said, you know, the axe head's a little bit too big, so I shrunk that. So all of this is just me trying to do my best to take the information you guys give me and, you know, and incorporate that into the sketch. Now there, if you notice, I added those blue lines just to help me straighten out the axe handle. That's something else I recommend doing a lot. I mean, obviously you got the perspective rulers in Manga Studio here if you're using this program, but you can draw them in real quick as a separate layer as well. And that's always nice to kind of check your perspective and get your things aligned properly, or a little bit closer anyways. So now I've got a lot of the stuff in place, and then now I'm going back and just trying to refine it. So I start working on the background a little bit more and trying to fill in the trees. And at first, I started thinking, oh, I'll draw like the trees and I'll put like a little bit of snow caps on them and things like that, or snow on the branches. And I'm like, you know what, this piece is going to take way too long if I start doing stuff like that. Let me see what it looks like in a silhouette. And I end up going with that. So just keep that in mind, that some things are better left simplified, especially in a real busy piece like this. It's real easy to overdo the background, overdo certain elements, and then lose the character. And I feel that I actually did start to lose the character a bit in this piece, and then I go back and try to fix that as I go. But it just seems to happen, especially when there's more detail. And like by asking everybody's opinion on what they'd like to see in this sketch, it offered a lot of different details that had to be drawn in there. So in turn, it's real easy to, again, lose the character. And that's one of the reasons why I like putting them on a separate layer. So you can see there, I drop out the background and the characters, the fallen soldiers type thing, and I can just focus on the barbarian now and get a little bit more detail in there and not get distracted by the background. So I do suggest itemizing your scenes at least by main character, background, and then maybe mid-ground elements or something like that. And then it just makes it a lot easier to kind of do your composition and everything. So I'm trying to detail that hand a bit more just because it's closer to camera, and I felt like it needed that little extra detail. And now I'm to the rendering stage where I start putting in a little more cross-hatching. I purposely made this one a little bit more rough than I normally would, just because of the topic, the subject matter. It's a barbarian and gritty kind of scene or something like that. So I just basically tried to go with that and not really refine it too much. And the other thing is, looking at the clock and seeing where I was at on this piece, like just the refinement from the initial sketch that you see here took me 3 hours, I believe, by the end of this. So you got to constantly be aware of that. Like if I'm going to ink this and color it, I got to know where I'm at time-wise and how much more I can really dedicate to this. And if I'm going to ink it anyways, then, which I probably will with this piece, we'll see. Depends on how much time I got in the response to this particular piece, I guess. But if I do go to ink it, then I got to factor in that time, which will probably take me another, I don't know, I'm not the fastest inker, probably 3 to 4 hours on that as well. So yeah, so there's more of the rendering. This belt piece was ticking me off. I couldn't quite get what I wanted, and that happens sometimes. I probably should have pulled reference for that, but I just kept dinking with it and changing it and putting a few little different elements in there. I ended up going with like this little hawk head or something. So maybe he's part of the Hawk Viking clan or something or other. And that's really all I do. I just keep repeating this process, texturing, refining line work. I soft erase certain areas and go, okay, should I make this look a little bit better? Should I clean this up? And then I just pinball around and I just work in areas that I kind of pick the thing that looks the the worst, I guess, in the scene and try to fix it and refine it a bit more. And then hopefully not lose the main focus, which is the barbarian and him coming out towards camera, And then, I like the arrow concept, so I wanted to do a little bit more perspective effect, even though I kind of struggled with this because I'm like, I don't know what an arrow looks like from this angle and this perspective, but I did my best to kind of fake it, I guess. And so I throw in these little arrows, and again, I drop out the background so that I can focus on the scene a little bit more and see into it and not get so distracted. And then finally, I go back with like a white highlight, layer or whatever, and then I just, kind of make certain things stand out to show a little bit of separation. And that's about it. So there you have it, everybody, our completed barbarian piece. So I appreciate everybody chiming in and give me your ideas. It's really neat to work this way, and hopefully you're happy with the piece. And remember that you could support this channel by following my links in the description box below. And as always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and I will talk to you soon.